Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. Okay, I have wanted to do this video for so long, and every time I do it, I get super emotional when I'm planning it. I start crying. If you can see, I've been crying over there. So, I haven't done it, but today I didn't really know what else to do a video about, and I thought, I've been wanting to make this video for so long, it's time to make the video. And, I don't know why it's hard for me. Like, I cry on all my other channels that I have, so it's like, I don't think I've cried on this channel, which is funny. If you just watch this channel of mine, then you probably haven't seen me. Like, on my vlog channel, I bawl my eyes out. So, I'm not somebody that's, like, afraid of emotion. I think it's healthy for the soul to cry. So get ready, because you're going to see it on this video today. But what I wanted to talk about was the power of a book, the power of a story. You know, for years and years and years, people have asked me, like, who are your role models? Who are your mentors and things like that? And I think I always go back to, like, lessons that my mother taught me. And I've talked a lot about my mom. My dad equally has taught me some phenomenal lessons in my life. I was so blessed to have two boundary-setting, liberal-minded, caring, compassionate parents that really thought out how they wanted me to grow up, what they wanted me to be exposed to, and art, literature, sports, all that stuff. They, you know, and I feel so blessed because I know that most people don't have that. And I just, you know, both of my parents have their own faults, but I just feel completely blessed to have been born to these unique individuals. So, but I usually say that my mom is the one who, like, gave me all this role modeling and stuff. But really what it is, when I really narrow it down, when people say to me, like, how is it that you deal with hatred? How is it that you deal with, you know, people that hurt your feelings? How is it you do all this kind of stuff? And how is it that you continue to get up through all that and have kind of a positive outlook on life? I have to say, it comes down to the fact that my mother introduced me to one book. And that book was Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. I can feel myself getting emotional already. So I always really truly felt that it was my mother that had, like, given me these lessons, but really it was her resonating the voice of Harper Lee's story of Scout, Jean Louise Finch. And so if I have to say I have one role model in my life, that role model would be Scout. I love her as a character. I love the lessons that she learns. I love that she remains teachable, and I love her story. I had seen this speech from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, I think I pronounced that right, who wrote Americana, about the power of a story, that just one person's story can affect and change the world profoundly, and I so truly believe that, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And Scout's story has so changed me as a person since the first time that I read it in 6th grade. And I was thinking, when I originally wanted to do this video, like, what is it about the story that has changed me? You know, is it just one or two sentences that are said? Is it just a passage? Is it just what is it that has so resonated with me? And I'm not really sure. I think that for many of us, we're a lot like Scout. I think many of us grow up in a world where we see all of this, but we don't really know what to make sense of. And, you know, she had Calpurnia and Jim and Atticus especially to make sense of the world for her and to remain teachable. And I've always just kind of tried to do that in my life. You know, do I act a fool from time to time like Scout? Absolutely. I think that's what I relate to her so much about, you know, that she has to be checked and put in line sometimes. We all do. But there are some poignant moments in this book that have forever changed me as a person, and I wanted to share those with you today. I would like to see other booktubers out there do similar videos about whatever book has changed them. I don't think we would love books so much if they hadn't changed our hearts and souls and who we were as people. I just truly believe that. I could probably do this video about 30 books, maybe more. There are so many books out there that I absolutely love. Some of them aren't even great fiction. You know, The Lonely Doll, the children's book, really has changed me as a person. So, I would love to see some other people do out there, but right now I'd like to share with you guys the quotes that meant so much to me. So, the first quote is, if you have this edition, is on page 29. And it's where Jim invites Walter Cunningham over for lunch to their house, partly because Scout and Walter Cunningham have gotten into a fight at school. And so Scout says to Calpurnia, he ain't company, Cal, he's just a Cunningham. And Calpurnia says, hush your mouth, don't matter who they are. Anybody sets foot in this house, Yo's company, and don't you let me catch you remarking on their ways like you was so high and mighty. Yo folks might be better in the cutting hands, but it don't count for nothing the way you're disgracing them. If you can't fit to eat at the table, you can just sit here and eat in the kitchen. And this actually goes into a quote that I'm going to read you later when Atticus is leaving the courtroom. But what that is saying to me, and what I have always heard that was, what my mother followed that up with and said, is class is not how much you earn a year. Class is not how much you have. Class is not what kind of house you live in or what kind of family you come from. Class is how you treat other people. And I think that that's really the message that Calpurnia is saying here. And, you know, Calpurnia for me is one of my all-time favorite characters ever, you know. And, I just love that moment so much. And in the movie, if you've seen the movie, it's even more poignant. So the next favorite quote of mine is probably my favorite quote in the entire book. And when I think about it, it's funny because I always think of it being this bigger scene. But actually, and I think that's because of the movie. Like the movie and the book, like, you know, so much, it's so weird. I have to just tell you this, that my sign, like, I live in Indiana, so it's the state bird. But my sign of my mother and I, like, was always the cardinal. And she said if she ever came back, when she passed away, she'd come back as a cardinal. I am not lying to you. A cardinal just flew right in front of the window. So anyway, my next quote, which is my all-time favorite quote, is when Atticus sits down with her on the front porch and he's talking to her about her getting into a fight and the teacher getting upset with her. And it says, Atticus stood up and walked to the end of the porch. When he completed his examination of the wisteria vine, he strolled back to me. And what I love about that part is, that's not the quote I'm going to read, but what I love about that is that he's just so calm, you know? Just that to remain teachable in life, I think our teachers have to speak the language that we're going to hear, if that makes sense. So if you're trying to help somebody in life or teach them a lesson, the language you use is really important. You know, and Atticus is just very calm and peaceful. I always love that about him. Very much like my father. First of all, he said, if you can learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. Sir, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. Atticus said I had learned many things today, and Miss Caroline had learned several things herself. She had learned to not hand something to a Cunningham, for one thing. But if Walter and I had put ourselves in her shoes, we'd have seen it was an honest mistake on her part. We could not expect her to learn all Makeham's ways in one day, and we could not hold her responsible when she knew no better. What I love about that so much from a child's point of view is, why can't we understand one another and walk around in their skin if she can understand that at her age? And I think that that's why this book gives me so much hope, because I think really in most people's hearts, they can see that about people. And that's why this book has so impacted me in my life, you know? That if you really can walk around, truly walk around in somebody's skin just for a moment, okay? And think about, wow, I wonder where they're coming from. Without your selfish thoughts going into it, I wonder what their perspective is. It's pretty powerful, isn't it? The next part that I'm going to read to you, which is the part that I always bawl my eyes out for, I don't know why, but is at the very end after the courtroom or the court trial, and Atticus gets his stuff and he's leaving. And this is, you know, Scout, and she says, and she's up in the, you know, the upper part. She says, someone was punching me, but I was reluctant to take my eyes from the people below us and from the image of Atticus's lonely walk down the aisle. Miss Jean Louise, I looked around. They were standing all around us and in the balcony and on the opposite wall. The Negroes were getting to their feet. Reverend Sykes' voice was as distant as Judge Taylor's. Miss Jean Louise, stand up. Your father's passing. I cry so hard for that scene because that respect, that honor for thank you for standing up for us, in that moment, I think we don't show people that kind of respect. I think we don't show people thanks for the small things that they do for us, and the big things that they do for us as well. For an entire community to stand up out of respect And I think that the word passing is very important in that moment. You know, for me, I've never used the word with my mother that she died. I'll say passing. And I think that the fact that Harper Lee chose to use that word is very poignant. And I think it's very similar in how we pay respect to somebody when they've passed and what their life stood for. And I think in that moment when they say the lonely walk that Atticus was taking, I think in some respects, as a widow and as an attorney doing what he feels is right, it's a lonely walk. And sometimes in life, to do the right thing is really lonely. I can't tell you how many times I have done something that I felt is the right thing, but it's felt really, really lonely. And at the end of the day, I think it's more important to do the right thing always, you know. The last quote for me that is my most favorite from this book is after they've come back. It's at the very, very end. It's actually the last paragraph of the book. And it's when, if you don't know, I have a dog named Boo Radley. And Boo Radley is my favorite character from this book, my favorite character of life. I think Boo Radley is a genius character. I think he embodies misunderstanding and innocence and goodness and kindness. And it's the scene right after Jim has gotten hurt and he's in the bed. And Scout has taken Boo Radley back to his house. And she's come home and Atticus is tucking her into bed. His hands were under my chin. Oh, no. He guided me to the bed, and she's talking about Atticus, and sat me down. He lifted my legs and put me under the cover. And they chased him and never could catch him because they didn't know what he looked like. And Atticus, when they finally saw him, why, he hadn't done any of those things. Atticus, he was real nice. His hands were under my chin, pulling up the cover, tucking it around me. Most people are, Scout, when you finally see them. He turned out the light and went into Jim's room. He would be there all night, and he would be there when Jim waked up in the morning. I think for me, this book is about second chances and about seeing people's souls and offering people the ability to change. That the world changes, that life changes. The world around us has changed a lot since this book came out. But a lot has stayed the same. There's a lot of ignorance and ugliness still out there in the world. And it makes me very, very sad. As I've gotten older, I've understood it less. It's so much easier to take the right road and be the better person, to be the nicer person. I don't understand why people choose to live with such ugliness in their heart. Had I never read this book, I think my approach at the world, my forgiveness of other people, my forgiveness of myself, and my hope for future generations would not exist. I'm so thankful to this book. I'm so thankful to Harper Lee. And I'm so thankful to Scout. So I hope this book, or I hope this video was enjoyable to you guys in some way. I would love to see you guys make similar videos talking about what books impacted you. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.